I'm busy. The most common phrase we hear and say when we need to express that we can't take on more stuff. But most of the time, are you busy? Really? For years, I installed autocorrect in my brain every time I heard the phrase, I'm busy. To me, that just meant whatever you're asking me to do is not my priority. You see, there are 24 hours in a day, but there is virtually no limit how many items you can fit in your to-do list. Of course, you won't have enough time. And when you can't rank the difference between calling your mom or finishing that 2,000-word essay, you feel overwhelmed, stressed, and then you procrastinate by washing the dishes. That's not even on the list. To-do list won't help you become more productive. You need to define what productivity actually means to you. To me, it's not just about more output, but useful outputs. You want to actually do something that you care about. That's why before we even talk about productivity, we need to talk about prioritization. We have to pick the right things according to importance and how much you care about. That means sometimes it's not about the easy, trivial thing that you can get done within 1 minute. You know that thing, something that feels good after you've done it, but it doesn't actually move the needle. Checking emails, for example. So define what you actually want to get done with. Prioritize before you sit down and produce. So here are 3 tips to prioritize better. First of all, find the minimum effective dose for each goal, or MED, which means you have to apply the 80-20 rule. And then you reverse engineer the result to what you need to do quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily. Yes, regular life review isn't just for people who want to document their lives, but also a goal-checking process as well. For example, when I was trying to get into the Master of Music Therapy course, I figured that I need to relearn piano in 2 months. But at that point, I haven't practiced for so long because I finished all the exams and then I went to uni, became an accountant, forgot everything about piano. So the task at that time was to record 3 classical pieces, and I identified the most important thing that I need to get done with is actually getting my fingers to be flexible again. That means I have to focus on scales. So every day, I just spend like 5 to 10 minutes on training my finger flexibility again before I move on to the classical pieces. Once you get the foundation right, it's actually easy to re-practice those pieces because I got muscle memory. But the technical skills all lie in the scales. That was my minimum effective dose. That was the 20% of area I need to focus on in order to get at least 80% of the result. And that's how I relearned piano in just 2 months, from like a almost beginner level to professional. And that's how I got into music therapy, and that's how I changed my career. Find your MED. And this also applies to your fitness journey. For example, when I started practicing for my pull-up, I went through a whole bunch of YouTube videos and found out that the important skill is actually on the negatives. That also applies to most of other calisthenics moves as well. You have to focus on the negatives. That's why I started bringing a chair to the park, and then I just jump on top of the bar and then slowly go back down to the ground. If I just focus on doing what felt good, which is like using a resistance band or whatever, I would never progress that quickly. So yes, training for negative during my pull-up practice is what actually moved the needle. That was the minimum effective dose. Think about how you can apply that in whatever goal you set your eyes on this year. Second tip is to define your daily top 3 non-negotiables. I talk about this on the channel all the time. On my daily Notion journaling template, I have this 3-point list, top 3 non-negotiable. That means here are the 3 things that I will get done no matter what. If I get these 3 tasks done, then I will have a good day. Preferably you want to get those tasks done like earlier during the day, but you do you. Every morning when you sit down and complete the list, it actually narrows your focus because that would take all the unimportant things away. That is prioritization. If you have more than 3 priorities, you have none. Focus. Prioritize before you sit down and do the work. My third prioritization tip is to recognize the active output versus the maintenance goal. So hear me out. You know, sometimes you have to recognize you're going through different seasons in life. I totally get that. For example, during this particular quarter, I want to focus on my career. That might mean that I will spend less time working out. But there are some areas in life that actually require consistent effort, big or small, like health. If you put that aside for like 2 or 3 quarters, it won't stay at the original state, but it actually deteriorates. That's why when you are busy building a family or focusing on career, you still have to put health in like a maintenance area. This is how I prioritize work during busy season. Of course, I have my eyes on the big prize, but I also acknowledge the benefits of the less important areas. So in the morning, I will eat the frog, whatever that might be, filming, writing, whatever. And then I get my workout done in mid-morning. I got a program in place already, so I don't need to think about that. I just follow whatever I need to get done with. And then midday, I might throw it in a coffee chat with some friends. See, I put health and quality relationships on the side during the busy season, and they are on maintenance. But they are still important for my physical and mental health, so I cannot neglect that. I know balance is like a very weird thing, but I try my best. Next, 3 tips to maximize your input during your deep work focus period. First of all, use full screen please. This will reduce your switching costs. And we all know that multitasking is not a thing, you're just jumping in between different tasks, and you will end up consuming more mental energy than you needed if you just focus on one thing. Second tip, allocate your tasks based on your internal body clock. There are ways to find out your creative versus the admin hours. Daniel Pink talked about how we can better manage our time and energy by understanding our internal clock in his book, When, The Scientific Secrets of Perfect Timing. If you have been tracking your schedule, you might have found patterns of your activities. For example, I seem to create more good quality content early in the morning, and I seem to not make any good decisions at night. Here's how you can find out which bird actually dictates your internal body clock. Now, start by marking your general bedtime and wake-up time, and find the midpoint of your sleep. If you generally go to bed at 10 p.m. and get up at 6 a.m., your midpoint is 2 a.m. So according to the book, if your midpoint is earlier than 3:30 a.m., you are a lark. If your midpoint is later than 5:30 a.m., you are an owl. And if your midpoint is somewhere in between, you are a third bird. And then now refer to this table to determine how you can allocate different types of tasks in your schedule. I find it quite helpful these days, especially when I don't have a fixed schedule to follow. During my day off, I can completely control how I want to spend my time and how I can produce the best work. Last tip, have a dedicated playlist for deep work. You don't want to just get your workplace right, but also your headspace. When I was in uni, I used to listen to a lot of classical pieces during the studying period, and then later on I moved on to lo-fi, and now I'm in the deep house period whenever I need to write or do something creative. I hope these 6 tips are practical, and I hope this helps you get more of the right things done. If you enjoyed this video, you can also check out this video here in which I talk about how you can use Notion to boost your productivity, your well-being, your energy level and attention span. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.